Pit exit, 1 minute.
Switch the fuel on. Switch the pump on. 30 seconds.
As red goes out, that's where we go.
3, 2, 1, go.
Roger, off now.
Wouldn't be Bathurst without the HQ Holdens, and they're back as part of the WPS Bathurst Motor Festival for the HQRA National Challenge. There's a full field of cars, so many cars in fact this weekend, they've had to split them into two groups. The Rocking Kingswoods return to the mountain for the first time in 5 years.
Oh, it's just unbelievable. I mean, a dream come true. There's a heap of numbers here, but it's just a dream come true to come to Bathurst. Talking to some of the older guys here that have been here before are saying, look, you know, everything you've done, all the preparation that you've done is not going to be any help to you once you start to get across that mountain. So, look, it's exciting. It's a little bit daunting, but look, we're looking forward to the challenge.
The cars on the circuit at Bathurst for the HQRA National Challenge. Now, this is race 2 for Group 1, Damien White. There are so many cars here this weekend, they had to split them into two groups.
I know 90 to 95 HQs were guaranteed to come to Mount Panorama this weekend. That's phenomenal.
And there's a ring into a familiar face. Paul Morris is going to start from the second row of the grid, and he's driving the ex-Neville Haley Australian Championship winning HQ. The dude just will race everything.
That's what I love about him. You know, he's a racer. He's been here in a BMW 335, an HQ, Aussie race car, V8 supercar. The list goes on.
Never takes a weekend off. The field just keeps on coming. The HQs are going to be gridded up around onto Conrod Straight. There are that many cars for this second race of the weekend. Dallas Crane is a HQ veteran. There's a lot of work to do from position 46.
Now, you think of your Peter Green Senior starting a grid 50, you'd have a jump start. No one would see you.
Getting set for race 2 in the HQRA National Challenge. It's the first time in about 5 years that the HQs have been, I was going to say rumbling around the mountain, but perhaps that's not quite the word. John Wood from pole position makes a very good jump. Gary Bonwick in the number 1 car from the front row of the grid. It's pretty even into turn 1. Paul Morris slices across. He'll be third through the first corner, but those at the back haven't even made it to the start-finish line yet.
And we saw a mid-pack there, 5 wide on the track, 7 wide including the grass.
They're all through the first turn. Wood is the leader. The long run up Mountain Straight. Bonwick and Morris tucking in for the slipstream, and you can hear the 6-cylinder 202 red motor with carburettor working hard up the mountain. These cars lap Bathurst in around 3 minutes even, and well, if you're in a V8 supercar, I'd be a bit concerned.
You watch Stephen White's left hand will stay on the steering wheel with only 3 gears. There's not much gear changing going on around Bathurst.
And don't forget the HQ Holdens, 3 on the tree, the manual gearbox. They can change it to a floor shift if they so require. That was tight on the run up the shelf. It's such a massive field of cars. It's amazing that there's 2 groups, so it shows that HQ racing is still very, very strong.
Very strong indeed, Aaron. With almost 100 HQs here this weekend, it's no wonder that my mum is struggling to find spare parts for her own HQ.
They're keeping it tidy across the top of the mountain. This is John Wood under real pressure from Gary Bonwick across the top of the mountain. And these two have just started to edge away, dropping down over Brock's skyline.
I tell you what, as Bonwick went through McPhillamy Park, he had a little bit of opposite lock-on. Now, to be pushing that hard on the opening lap of an HQ race when you're trying to pull a gap on the cars in 3rd and 4th is either madness or someone who's very comfortable in the machinery.
Looking back for Paul Morris in the number 7 car. He runs in 4th spot, but the pole man, John Wood, just starting to edge away. The HQ Holdens have been racing since 1988, but they first hit the road in 1971. You talk about longevity, this category certainly has got it.
Who would have thought that in 2008 you could be racing a 37-year-old car at Mount Panorama?
And racing it quickly too. John Wood leading, Gary Bonwick in 2nd spot. And Paul Morris out of the slipstream. He will drive anything, and he's going for third spot. Down into the chase, up the inside in the Bobby McGee-owned car, and using a lot of the curb sideways through the grass. This is the sort of stuff we like to see.
What do they call him? The dirty, dangerous dude? I don't know about dirty or dangerous, but that was damn exciting. I loved it. And now he's got to worry about Pilkington down the inside.
Kieran Pilkington's going to fill the spot into Ornger Corner. Wood and Bonwick are clearing away. These guys are having a great dice, but Morris hangs on for the moment. Oh, a car around down at the chase. That's Aussie Devil from Queensland, and judging by the damage to the front of that car, he's going to need to rummage some spare parts for later on this weekend. Plenty of action in the HQs, more after the break. Back at Mount Panorama, the HQRA National Challenge, and Paul Morris, Damien White, taking no prisoners.
Taking no prisoners, and Kevin Stoopman getting in amongst the action with him.
Here are our leaders, John Wood and Gary Bonwick, clearing away. Gavin Porteous is there, but he is a lap down as Morris hangs on at the cutting. In car now with Chris Collins. And the 202 is working hard, and even time to stand back on the throttle once you get through the kick before you get to the cutting.
And what fascinates me is no gear changes for the cutting. Same gear as he's gone up Mountain Straight. And Stoopman still on the outside of Paul Morris. This has been going on since turn 2.
Across the top, dropping down through Reed Park, up to McPhillamy Park now. And Morris hangs on. Look at the lift. Look at the left front wheel. The Kumo control tyre is nearly off the deck.
Well, you're supposed to have the inside front off the deck across there, but only in a supercar. Paul Morris in an HQ, same attitude on the car, but Kevin Stoopman hanging with the dude, falling down towards a dipper.
Whoa, Gavin Porteous sideways on the exit of the dipper, clangs the wall, but manages to escape.
He's probably had a mirror full of Morris and Stoopman. He's seen them in the distance across McPhillamy, knowing he's going to catch them, and he's made a mistake through the dipper.
Bit of a lock-up from Paul Morris down at Falcon Elbow. Oh, Pilkington hits the concrete on the exit. Now, this is the replay of Porteous just in too deep at the exit of the dipper. Cleans up the concrete right in front of Paul Morris. And then
Pilkington, who knows the importance in an HQ of getting on the power as early as possible, has perhaps just got on a little bit too early this time.
Blue car, blue wall. It just was drawn.
And Stoopman again, busy into turn 2. This time has the inside run and should hold the position.
Mark Buckle trying to go the long way around, back in car with Stephen White. It's a long climb up the mountain in a HQ.
Had a nervous reach for the gear stick there, no need for a gear change, but 4 of them heading hard into the cutting.
Now, a replay down at the chase. It's been a pretty busy part of the circuit over the course of this weekend, and they're running here, there and everywhere. Car 32 off through the exit of the chase. Cameron Stanfield from Queensland managed to pop out the other side and at least continue, but Paul Morris has some clean air now to play with in the number 7 machine. And the dude looks like he's starting to get a little bit of a rhythm on board with Chris Collins, and another one clanging the wall. That's Ian McLean on the exit of the cutting.
Well, they've run out of guards in the wreckers, so surely these cars have a hell of a lot of bog because there's a lot of wall slapping going on.
Finally, the gear change there. The engine's revving so hard. Grab another cog and brr.
I was about to say it revs hard until you grab that next gear and then it drops to nothing.
Here's Paul Morris in car 7. John Wood and Gary Bonwick have absolutely cleared away. Morris is clear in position 3. This guy will just drive anything. He does Aussie racing cars on V8 supercar weekends. He's got the super cheap auto racing Commodore, he and Russell Engel in season 2008, and he even will drive a HQ.
And he's probably pleased that he's cleared away from this next group. 6 of them in a line now, heading down Conrod Straight. Make that 5.
Mark Buckle at the front of the queue in the blue number 20 car. Kevin Stoopman tucked up right down hard. Under brakes at the chase. They use drum brakes on the rear of these cars. They use discs on the front. Unfortunately, though, Stoopman didn't use enough of it then.
And normally into the chase in a race car, when you have a lock-up at the front like that, a small lock-up, you can normally recover, but apparently not in an HQ.
Final lap of race 2 in the HQs. The victory goes to John Wood. He crosses the line, comfortably clear of Gary Bonwick. Paul Morris hangs on in what was a pretty lonely third spot. Mark Buckle home in fourth. And the cavalcade of Kingswoods comes across the line to finish race 2 in the HQRA Nationals at Bathurst.
Yeah, it's beautiful actually. It's sort of easy from out the front, but a couple of boys are starting to get the pace on me now, so I've got to start watching my tail.
Can you make it 3 in a row?
I'm really hoping to. I know the car's got it. The Loungecraft KTL car is just awesome, and the Rouse motor's really got all the beat that it needs. They just need to hopefully keep it on the track and hopefully I don't get punted.
On track for race 3 in the HQRA National Challenge at Mount Panorama Bathurst. Such a massive weekend at the WPS Bathurst Motor Festival. Damien White, the rocking HQs are back for one more. John Wood is the man they're all chasing from pole.
And Gary Bonwick carrying number 1. He'll have something to say about that, and you can guarantee that the dude's going to get in and amongst it.
Kevin Stootman, starting from position 7, was very busy throughout the course of the last race, but cannot believe how many cars here. Gavin Porty is starting 22nd after that drama in the earlier race. David Ling from position 27 and Andrew Bird. You'd think rounding out in the top 30 you'd be at the tail of the field, but in HQ racing at Bathurst you're about halfway.
Well, you can brag when you're 25th on the grid that you're actually in the top half of the grid. Now that's pretty cool.
They keep on rolling back through. Robert McDonald from position 47 in the Kakadu Air Machine. Wayne Lamont, a familiar name from the V8 Ute Series, doing some miles at Mount Panorama. And Waden Tiriana from the back of the field. And some native wildlife here at Mount Panorama. We've seen kangaroos on the circuit in the past, but we've got a green flag set to start race 3 at Mount Panorama. John Wood, Gary Bonwick, front row of the grid. Can anyone do anything about John Wood? He's been really fast this weekend. Paul Morris on the inside of row 2. Chris Collins, a flying start. And just when he thought he got a great start, there goes Greg Godding around the outside.
I just love this 3-speed thing because we're on board with him then for 30 seconds through one corner and there was not one gear change.
Not working quite as hard with the 3-speed. HQ Holden, Bonwick and Wood side by side. Make it 3 wide. Paul Morris up the inside and going for the lead at Griffin's Bend.
And I think he'll do it on the outside.
Oh, there's contact. Wood goes around. He's up against the wall at Cat Corner now. Everyone stay to the right because he can't go anywhere. He's going to try to just escape the zone. He's going backwards against the traffic. And that's one way to go from hero to 0.
The concentration in his eyes there, absolutely needed. He's got a car on the inside, cars in front, cars behind, cars everywhere. But the focal point, John Wood, winning race 2 and binning it turn 2, race 3. He'll be very disappointed.
Across the top, the Kingswoods just starting to roll as they make their way across the top towards Brock's skyline. Passing up the inside of McPhillamy, that's brave.
Brave or stupid, I don't know. If it comes off, you're brave. If it doesn't come off, you're stupid.
Coming down the mountain, I just can't get over how many of these cars have turned up at Mount Panorama this weekend, the WPS Bathurst Motor Festival, and they're being driven with great gusto as well. Here's the replay of Wood and Morris. Now, it looked like there was a little bit of contact there.
I don't know. You know, opening lap of the race, Wood's tyres, everyone's tyres are cold. Around the outside of turn 2, he's probably not going to stick on the opening lap of a race, particularly not in an HQ.
And you can see a few spots on the camera, so the rain is just starting to play havoc here. Morris under challenge from Gary Bonwick, the Queenslander, in the number 1 car. He slips through down the inside through the right-hander at the chase. But I think he knows that this isn't done with yet.
That was a perfectly executed move. His application on the brakes was spot on. There was no lock-up. He clipped the apex and has actually gapped Paul Morris on the way out.
Now, the rules, obviously, in HQ racing, they're really, really strict. All the cars, of course, are built with some control parts and the rain spots just a little bit more on the camber. That'll make things a little bit dicey. And we talk about race cars with camber. That is how the front wheels splay out. And in the case of the HQs, they can't exceed 3 degrees of negative camber. So you can't make all sorts of alterations to the front of these cars to find pace.
And to put that into some sort of perspective, a V8 supercar can run and do run twice that amount of camber on the front. So the cornering speed is somewhat reduced in an HQ.
Morris and Bonwick side by side. There's enough time to have a look at one another and wave out the window as they go up Mountain Straight, but Morris has got the inside to Griffin's Bend. There comes a point here where Bonwick really has to give up the corner, but he's not too keen to do it until the last possible moment. And in fact, he's going to hang tough on the outside and try to stay there, because that would mean he's got the inside for the run to the cutting, but just not quite enough. So Paul Morris leading the way in race 3 of the HQ Holdens at the WPS Bathurst Motor Festival. Can he hang on? We'll find out after the break. At Mount Panorama, the final race in the HQRA National Challenge as part of the WPS Bathurst Motor Festival. Paul Morris is leading the way, but Damien White not by much.
Almost by nothing as they head into the chase. Is he going to stick it down the inside? Yes, he does. But Morris is going to have the inside for the braking duel.
Doesn't worry, Gary Bonwick round the outside, locks up the Kumo tyre and straight out to the scrub. So he has to hustle and get back on in front of Mark Buckle. He can't do it, and he's going to lose third spot too. Kieran Pilkington slips on by, so Paul Morris is off the leash.
And Paul Morris showed his experience there. You didn't see a lock up from him. He picked his braking marker, he stuck to it, and sure enough, Bonwick went beyond his and off into the dirt.
The end of another lap, Morris is the leader. Buckle in second spot, Pilkington third. Bonwick back in position 4. Neil Corey is the next in the blue car, just a bit further back down. Pit straight, but Morris just starting to make a sprint for it. Here's the replay.
You can see Bonwick was never going to make it stick around the outside, but hey, credit to him for trying. And just there, the puff of smoke, that was the wheel that locked, enough to send him off the track and enough to give Morris a very clear gap to second place.
And you can see him there just looking to the left, trying to find a clean, clear piece of bitumen to rejoin on. He found it, but he also finds himself back in 4th spot, but Morris hasn't been able to get away from this pack.
I would have thought Paul Morris would be able to capitalise on that mistake and build a gap, but as he said, he's well under pressure.
Chris Collins, the climb up Mountain Straight. Plenty of time to think about the situation. Now the braking zone.
I'm excited. I heard a gear change, a big rev on the downshift, nice and smooth, don't overwork the steering wheel, and look at that, feed the power on up the hill, and he's going to make a move.
Around the outside, on the run to the shelf. Now the cutting. Back 1. Don't forget HQ Holdens. There's only 3 to choose from. Half the amount of cogs of a V8 supercar, but Paul Morris is using all 3 of them, and he needs to. He's hanging on at the moment, but not by much across the top of Skyline.
And Buckwell's doing a great job. He's keeping the pressure onto Morris while at the same time fielding the pressure from Bonwick, who has managed to get into 3rd place.
Here's a replay down at Oranger Corner, the final turn onto Pit Straight. Darryl Crouch making a small error there and facing the wrong way. One way to have a look at HQ racing at Mount Panorama. Better idea to clear the zone.
Oh, look at the smoke. Who said HQs didn't have power?
Paul Morris has got power and has got the lead. He's managed to break the slipstream. He's on the final lap, on the way home in the HQRA National Challenge at Mount Panorama. It's been a couple of years since the HQs have been at Bathurst, and Morris, in the former championship-winning car in the hands of Neville Haley, it's won a lot in its career. It's going to win again at Mount Panorama. Paul Morris proving to be the new Mr. Versatile of Aussie motorsport.
It's a credit to him. He's won here in Aussie race cars. He's won in all sorts of cars, but now he can add to that collection a win of an HQ race.
I'm sure that's going to sit up high on the mantelpiece. Paul Morris, Oranger Corner for the final time. The battle for the minors is on. But Paul Morris takes race 3 at Mount Panorama. The HQs have come back to Bathurst in 2008 and they've all had a fantastic time and put on some absolutely fantastic racing. Neil Corey, home in position 5, the South Australian, with a few battle scars to prove it. Paul Morris takes the win in race 3, clear of Mark Buckle. Gary Bonwick rounded out the top 3, and rounding out the top 10, Stephen White from Victoria.
Pretty unbelievable, isn't it? I just can't believe it. Come here and first time in the car and come away for the trophy was very exciting. Didn't know really what to make of it to start with, but by the end of the last race I really got the hang of it, and to come here and win a race in any sort of car is a fantastic thing to do, so it's great.
Well, that's it for the HQRA National Challenge at Mount Panorama, part of the WPS Bathurst Motor Festival. Join us next week for all the action for the Superlot Saloon Car Mountain Challenge. On behalf of Damien White, I'm Aaron Noonan. We'll see you next time.